Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the 10th Christmas update from GazWeatherVids.com. We've done 9 updates so far, looking at the long-range CFS V2 model from the website meteorseal.fr. This is the 10th update, and we're going to again have a look at the CFS model for the latter part of December and see what it's showing. We have had a bit of a trend over the previous 9 updates for fairly cold conditions, not necessarily on Christmas Day itself. Far too early to sort of pin down weather for one day. But many of these updates that we've been doing have been suggesting a little bit of cold weather sometime around the end of December, whether it's before Christmas or over Christmas or after Christmas. That changes from run to run. But there has been a trend amongst these videos and updates for certainly being on the colder side of things sometime around that latter part of December. That does include, or could of course include, Christmas. The last update that we did was a bit different though. It's different to all the other updates really, with just a lot of high pressure keeping it mostly dry. I think we said it could get quite cold in about high pressure, but it wasn't a particularly cold scenario, see what I mean? Just cold on the surface underneath an area of high pressure, rather than bringing proper northerly or easterly winds with snow to the country. It wasn't that kind of rain. It was a little bit different compared to all of the other updates. Anyway, we'll have a look at the 10th update in a moment and see what it's showing for Christmas. We're getting very close to Christmas now. Of course, we're almost just under a month away from it. It's the 22nd of November today, so we'll be within a month of Christmas in a day or so's time. I've been baking some mince pies this afternoon, so that's a sign, but it's getting pretty close. There's the evidence, there's my mince pie. So, yeah, it's going to start getting very interesting from now on. Just say, by the way, when we finish with the CFS V2, we'll run on to the GFS. That will be when Christmas gets around 2 weeks away. We will leave the CFS V2 behind and look at the shorter range GFS model. But we've got a few weeks to go before we get to that point. I think it'll be sometime around the 10th of December, something like that. So before I get on with that, just say about the ads. You see it's right on all the pages at GazWeatherVids. Have a browse of widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks so much for doing that. There's video ads on most pages which open up in the content when you watch them, close back up against all having to pay for the website. And the shop is open. So you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas. Just click the button that says Christmas Shop. It'll take you to our Christmas page, and then from there the key to it all is to click through the Amazon banners. It takes you off to Amazon, and you can just do your Christmas shopping there as normal. But because you're going from GazWeatherVids to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you are purchasing, and thanks very much for doing that. So it's the CFS 9-monthly forecast from website meteorseal.fr. It was generated midday. We always try to use the midday run so nobody can shout at me for cherry picking colder charts or anything like that. We always try and use the midday run. Generated midday yesterday on the 21st of November. So we're going to start on the 10th of December, and we're in a classic westerly here with high pressure to the south and low pressure to the north, bringing these westerlies through the country. As we run through beyond the 10th into the 11th, the 12th, the 13th of December, we keep a westerly flow going. What happens is there is low pressure moves in and probably turns it pretty wet and windy across the country, but it's still basically a mild setup, high pressure to the south, low pressure coming in from the north. That takes up to the middle part of the month, the 14th of December, with this area of low pressure moving through, taking bands of wind and rain across the country. That low pressure moves off to the east as we get through to the 15th of December. And that starts to open the door to a very cold northeasterly wind. So you get a proper blast of winter there through the middle part of December. That would bring probably snow showers in from the east and pretty cold temperatures as well. Very quickly, that low pressure is clearing away, and high pressure is starting to topple in from the Atlantic. So it's a very quick blast of winter with snow possible in the east particularly, and then high pressure building in. Now, this high pressure is within cold air, so it will be very cold under these underneath this area of high pressure, there'll be some hard overnight frost, probably dense fog patches developing as well as we go through to the 16th of December. Now, what happens as we run up towards Christmas, this takes us to the 18th and 19th, on in towards the 20th of December. That high pressure just sticks around the country, so this gives us a cold run up to Christmas because nothing really stirs the atmosphere up from that cold northeasterly that we have on the 15th. So it would be cold running up to Christmas, probably with a lot of disruptive fog underneath that area of high pressure as well. This is quite similar, funnily enough, to the last update that we did. I think it was on Thursday night, the 9th update. Quite similar to that, with just high pressure sitting around the country within pretty cold air, giving a lot of frost and probably dense fog patches as well. So it could be a fairly disruptive run up to Christmas, not from snow, but from fog, if that was to come up, and a lot of dry weather. So we go up to the Christmas period itself. This takes us to the 22nd, on to the 23rd, and the high pressure is shifting a little bit to the south here as we're running up to the Christmas period itself. So this takes us to midnight Christmas Eve. High pressure is still very dominant, so it's a prolonged dry spell, but its position has shifted, so it's centred more across France. This means that we stir the atmosphere up a bit, particularly in the north. We will get rid of the fog, but we will bring a lot of cloud, probably mild temperatures around the top of that high pressure. So for the south, probably still cold, frosty and foggy. For the north, as we get towards Christmas Eve, a good deal milder. Probably quite a lot of cloud going on as well. Now this takes us up to Christmas Day, so this is the chart for Christmas Day from this particular run of the CFS V2, and it still keeps this high pressure going. Nothing really has stirred the atmosphere in the south, so I would suspect that the southern parts of the country, it's still cold, it's still foggy, it's a very prolonged dry spell, but it is probably still dry down in the south with a lot of frost and fog. In the north, quite mild, with a fair amount of cloud, but mostly dry weather going on even there on Christmas Day. Now we go through to Boxing Day and look at this. The high pressure is trying to get up towards Scandinavia. This has been a recurring theme with these updates, to take high pressure, or take a high pressure up towards Scandinavia and bring an easterly wind in across the country sometime in the latter stages of December. It's trying to do it again, take that high pressure up to Scandinavia, but look at this, the Atlantic is really starting to wind itself up now as we go beyond Boxing Day in towards the 27th. The Atlantic begins a bit of an onslaught. So we're going up towards the new year now. This takes to the 28th, and very deep area of low pressure, 930 millibars, intense polar vortex is starting to batter down this high pressure. So all of a sudden after Christmas we just break down the high pressure, that collapses, goes off towards the Black Sea, and we start to bring wet and windy weather in off the Atlantic, and this takes us into a very unsettled Atlantic driven, potentially stormy end to the year. This is New Year's Eve, very wet and windy but pretty mild. This is New Year's Day, the first day of 2016, looks wet and windy again, but it's fully isobars back, very mild air coming up, and it just stays unsettled really through the first week of January. Wet, windy. In the south, high pressure is trying to build again across Central Europe, so it's a bit drier in the south, quite wet and windy in the north, but all the time the air is coming from the southwest, so it's very mild. So what do we make of that? I think it's probably in the milder camp of things, particularly after Christmas when it turns really mild, wet and windy. Before Christmas we get this very prolonged spell of dry and probably quite cold and foggy weather. That will be a bit of a nuisance, I suspect, for people travelling about in the run-up to Christmas. But I wouldn't necessarily say this is a particularly cold update. Although it's cold and about high pressure, it's not a classic northerly or easterly feed that would deliver snow. So it's kind of the thing that people refer to as faux cold, if you like, which means it's cold down on the surface, but aloft it's fairly mild, and it's only cold on the surface because it's winter and nothing's stirring the atmosphere up. Personally, I think cold is cold, but there we go. Some people consider that kind of a cold spell, just an area of high pressure, to be a little bit of a fake cold, if you like. But anyway, that's the 10th update. So it's again a bit different to the other updates. It sort of sides with the last update, really, with a lot of dry cold, frosty, foggy weather running up to Christmas, then turning mild, wet, windy and potentially stormy up towards the new year. Are we leaving behind those northerly and easterly episodes? Well, we'll find out in the next instalment, which will be the 11th update, and we'll do that probably on Tuesday evening, so come back for that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.